Felice, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. And this is our Wacky Wednesday Why Wait for Recovery community meeting. Your turn.
And my name is Haiti, and I am blessed and grateful to be here tonight and to be in recovery. And we get together every Wednesday. We have a Wacky Wednesday, and we discuss overeating, binging, purging, drug addiction, food addiction,
Anorexia. Yeah.
post-bariatric surgery when those cravings kick in, just anything to do with addiction, really. So we are here, and
And I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic and an anorexic, and you are?
and I am an overeater. I'm a binger. I am a purger. I'm a food addict. I'm a post-sleeve surgery food addict as well.
And we're both in recovery.
And I'm also a drug addict.
right.
In
And we're in
recovery.
recovery.
So
and
that-
that's the cool part.
That's really the cool part that takes away a little bit of the crazy.
but not tonight. Tonight it hasn't taken away any
Today
crazy.
it's just been one of those crazy,
Right.
crazy days.
Right.
So we thought we'd try something a little bit different, is a different type of format for the week. That one of the things we'd love to do is hear more of your thoughts. Okay, and we thought maybe if we started reading something or do more of a learning on a Wednesday, than just to go around as a check-in, and instead of just running it as a regular meeting, to actually have something that we can learn from or hear your fabulous insights on.
Good idea. So you're going to start here?
I would love to start. I wonder if I can get through this though.
And so we're reading from
Just
for Today.
So
So it's an NA book, right?
it is an NA book, and we're going to just abbreviate it a little bit, but it is a fabulous reading because I could so relate. Our disease isolated us. Hostile, resentful, self-centered, and self-seeking. We cut ourselves off from the outside world. Addiction is an isolating disease, closing us off from society, family, and self. We hid, we lied, we scorned the lives we saw others living, surely beyond our grasp. Worst of all, we told ourselves there was nothing wrong with us, even though we knew we were desperately ill. Our connection with the world and with reality itself was severed. Our lives lost meaning, and we withdrew further and further from reality. Our program is designed especially for people like us. It helps reconnect us to the life we were meant to live, drawing us out of our isolation. We stop lying to ourselves about our condition. We admit our powerlessness and the unmanageability of our lives. We develop faith that our lives can improve, that recovery is possible, and that happiness is not permanently beyond our grasp. We get honest. We stop hiding. We show up and tell the truth, no matter what. And as we do, we establish the ties that connect our individual lives to the larger life around us. We addicts need not live lives of isolation. The steps can restore our connection to life and living if we work them. So just for today, I am part of the life around me. I'll practice my program to strengthen my connection to the world.
Wow. So I'm going to let you know that when you started reading that, immediately I'm back to when I was using. Like how it felt to be so friggin' despondent and feel so lonely no matter how many people were around. And knowing that I was lying all the time, that I was always lying. I was always lying to me, so I was always lying to you. And what a really horrible feeling that was, and how much self-loathing was involved with that. And so when you talk about us isolating, for me, I isolated first of all because I wanted to use and I wanted to be by myself. And I think more than that I was so friggin' ashamed of who I was at that time. And the things that I was doing, you know, it completely goes against every spiritual principle, right behind the steps. Of course, first one being honesty, but humility and integrity go along with that as well. And I certainly wasn't walking in integrity. I was humiliated, but didn't have humility, and I certainly wasn't honest. And to have that feeling, really, you read and I got a stomachache. So to have that feeling and to remember, you know, they say that we won't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. And that's the part that, do I regret it still? I guess so. You know, do I feel guilty about it still? Yeah, I guess that's something that I need to work on. Do I close the door on it? I can't, because as soon as I forget that gives me a stomachache, it gives me permission to use.
And I find that also being able to see where we came from to where we are today and be able to see the difference, because there was a long time when I first stepped into the rooms I couldn't see the difference. It just seemed so incomprehensible that things could be different walking into recovery, because I've been living in active addiction for 42 years. I mean, whether I was picking up or the behaviors, it was all the same. And that sense of shame and that sense of guilt I never knew what things looked like beyond that, because I thought that it was willpower, and I thought that I wasn't good enough, and that I just couldn't stick to a diet, or that if I really binged and purged enough, maybe I wouldn't wake up in the morning. And there were mornings I was disappointed when I did get up and that I was awake. And my life was so desperate at that stage that I just really, to read this makes me remember how not only shameful I was, but I wanted to isolate. Isolating also gave me the ability to use. You know, then I could plan those binges and those sessions, and that if I was really mean to my husband and the kids and I made them go out on their own and they weren't with me, then I could use without being, you know, I could be quiet and in my own space and just use as much as I wanted to, and punish myself for being the terrible person that I thought that I was, or the empty person that I thought I was.
Yeah, and you know, you talk about using your whole life, and I didn't. So I was 36, right, when my kid died, and I was just graduated medical school. I was super clean, you know, super straight. I was in school raising kids, and so my life didn't look like that. You know, I had a really, actually, I was living this awesome life, and then this event took place, and then I did whatever I did, and I that switch flipped, and I was an addict, and so for me, I had a whole, you know, almost 36 years of clarity. I was an anorexic as a teenager for a year. And I had in between that time a whole lot of clarity where I lived a life like I guess other people lived when they're not in active addiction. And had a really good life. And then went from that to being so sad and not knowing how to deal with life and dealing with life however I needed to deal with life, and then being so ashamed of the way that I was living, and then being so ashamed of the fact that I was an addict. And then having to go through that almost like seems easier if you're an addict your whole life. You know what I mean? It's kind of like how hard it was after the relapse, you know, because then you got 7 years of recovery in your belly, and then you relapse. And then when we're talking about shame and the resentment that I had for myself was unbelievable. And you guys, that shame and that resentment that we have for ourselves very oftentimes is what keeps us from coming clean, right? It's what keeps us from me being able to say to you, I'm using and I'm in trouble and I need help, right? Until I was so far, because I could have asked you for help at any time.
Right, and I think there's also that stage of not seeing past that inability to stop. I mean, I really didn't think that I could stop. If it was the cigarettes, if it was the food, if it was whatever I promised myself I wasn't going to eat that day, was something that I either ate that day or ended up using within the next couple of days. I was always falling back into that same pattern that I always thought it was a willpower issue, rather than realizing that it's actually part of a disease. But I also wanted to just quickly check in. So we live streaming on Facebook. We're up on Zoom if you want to join into the conversation. And one of the reasons we decided to change this format is to give everyone the ability to jump in and discuss this, because part of being in recovery is learning. And I learned so much from everyone who shares, because I really believe we've got the smartest people in recovery. And so I'd love to also be able to open up to the floor. Everyone who's on Zoom, just unmute yourselves, jump in as what we say, the spirit moves you. So just jump into the conversation, share what you thought about the reading, if you could relate to it, what it makes you think of, and just any thoughts.
Shares, anybody? All right, Karen, I'm going to call on you because I can. So.
Okay, hi. You know, as you were reading, I was thinking of isolating. I can be isolated and alone in a whole room of people. In fact, I don't think I ever felt more alone than when there were a lot of people around, because I didn't know how to present myself. So I would literally be hiding in full sight, in plain sight.
Yeah, and that's a super lonely place to be.
And I'm so pleased that you brought that up, because I've been an addict. I mean, I think I was born an addict, but I can relate to being an addict from when I was 7 years old. And I really think part of that was never being comfortable in my skin. Mm-hmm. So even when I was in a room full of people, I was a person who was either cleaning up, serving things, drinking things, busy. I was always very busy rather than actually connecting with people. So that uncomfortability is definitely something that resonates with a lot of addicts.
It's with all addicts. I mean, every single addict, when you're in the rooms, Every single addict is going to say that I felt different. I felt different than other people, and I felt like I didn't belong and I wasn't a part of. And I've never heard an addict not say that, ever. So, yeah, that's true.
Well, my goal in a room full of people, a group of people, was to keep other people talking. And that way I didn't have to talk myself or share anything. And you'd be amazed how well that works.
Yeah, staying invisible, as we thought was helpful, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. You guys? Allie? Hi, babe. Thanks for sharing. What do you have to say?
So I should have said, so sharing is as the spirit moves Felice.
Exactly. That's what she meant to say. Was that what Felice says is the spirit that moves you? So, you're on.
That's funny.
Not that funny, but go ahead.
I don't really have anything. Well, I don't know. I'm a hot mess today.
Okay. Is there something that you want to share about? Because we could share about whatever you want, so we could always get back on topic.
Well, I definitely understand isolating, because I did a lot of isolating and eating by myself and taking the time at the end of the day.
Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Sure. I always would take time at the end of the day to like make sure that I had like my box of pizza or whatever food that I was going to binge on and then watch a movie or a show or whatever. But you know, the things that I'm struggling with is working on being in recovery and working on my relationships, as well as past trauma, and it's just getting through the really hard things right now, and I guess feeling the feelings, and you know, I'm hard on myself when I say I'm going to do something and then I don't, and then I go back on it, and then there's a lot of things that are compounding, and I'm trying not to like feel sorry for myself. I'm trying to like feel positive and get some different perspective, but it still sucks.
Yeah, and so I'm going to tell you, and I know that we've talked about this before, but to be able to look at ourselves and say, shit, like, I'm an addict, and that sucks. And I've been talking about that a lot lately, actually, with a bunch of different people, with my therapist and with Haiti last night and with Ange. And, you know, I'm an addict, and me being an addict is is just as important as me being a doctor. I mean, it's just part of who I am. Did I choose to be an addict? No. Do I have a choice not to be in active addiction? Yes, I do. Sometimes I really have to be able to look at myself and feel for. So I'm not going to say feel sorry for, like I'm a victim, because I'm not a victim. I have a choice not to use, but to feel for me, just like I would feel for Ashley if she was struggling with her addiction. And to say, shit, you know what? Okay, that's what was dealt to you in life, and now you're going to deal. And to know that I'm going to learn something from it. But sometimes, you know, when we say, oh, I feel really sorry for myself, that's kind of a different thing, like, oh, you know, poor me. But just to understand that it is kind of sucky, and it's kind of sad, you know, that this is where we're at. It would be a whole lot easier if we weren't, right? Mm-hmm. So that alone, sometimes just give yourself permission to say, shit, like, sucks, I hate being an addict. Okay, like, say that and own it, because that's part of who we are, and it does suck.
Yeah.
It sucks. And so that part that you look at the addiction part and say that it sucks, that's okay. I think that we all need to give ourselves permission to be able to say that, yeah, that part sucks. To find the silver lining, to say, I know that I'm going to learn something. You know, there are a lot of people out there that are super unhappy, and because they're not in active addiction or they're not in recovery, they don't spend all of this time working on themselves. And so in the end, we're going to come out the better for it. Is it a shame that that's the way we had to go through it? Yeah, it is. But you will come out the better for it, and I'm sorry that you're struggling, because the struggle does suck. So thank you for sharing that part. I guarantee you that if we asked 10,000 people out there who are addicts, you know, every once in a while you have to look at it and say, it sucks, you know, that I'm an addict. It does. And that's okay to feel that.
I can identify so much with what you're saying, because I was that jolly, happy, fat person. I I really was. I was always like the happiest person for a long period of time. And learning to empathize with myself and identify things was something that is really also a gift in a way, because I never knew what to call different emotions. I only had like good and bad. Like there were two things that there was either happy or sad. But also learning to, in those shitty, and they're just weird times when we're just feeling off and we're getting to identify different things because we don't know what to call them. Well, for me, I didn't know what to call it, you know, and it was also part in the early stages, those first 90 days within recovery was also getting to learn what an emotion felt like. You know, emotions started having emotions, and just being able to name it and being able to empathize with myself and just say, do you know what? Yes, it does suck. I don't have to be perfect, and I don't have to present as happy Johnny all the time. And it's okay to feel the way that I'm feeling, and as long as I'm talking about it and getting the words out is also helping my recovery, being able to, on different levels. Firstly, it helps me feel closer to you that you're sharing on this level, helps me getting to know you better as well. So then I know what it looks like when you aren't feeling 100% yourself. So if you do come in, I can also identify that and say, Ellie, you know, what's going on today? You're not yourself today. Something looks a little off. So that also helps me as a friend in recovery to be a better friend to you.
And I'm going to ask you, Ellie, so you talked about struggling with relationships, and we struggle with all of our relationships when we first get clean, right? Because all of our relationships are changing because your relationship with you is changing. So are you just talking about male-female relationships, if you don't mind me asking? Or are you talking about all of your interpersonal relationships, or?
Yeah, just tonight, it's the specific relationship that I had stopped, but then I started again because I made somebody take away the contact information, and then I found a way to get it back. It's very dramatic.
Okay. Tell me how you feel about it.
Well, I feel like part of me is like, oh, I have relief. I can talk to this person for a second because I've been dying. But that's very dramatic.
Yeah, it's very chaotic, right?
Yeah, it's very chaotic.
Okay.
And another part of me is like, oh man, I've been doing so well, and putting my mind in other places rather than focusing on this particular thing. I've been doing so well, and I've been doing all these great things, and I feel bad. Not bad.
You feel bad, so tell me what bad feels like. Are you scared? Are you ashamed? Or are you feel like you're disrespecting yourself? Do you feel like you're letting other people down? Do you feel like you're letting yourself down? What emotions attached to what's going on?
No, it's not about other people. It's certainly about letting myself down, because I had an agreement with myself that I was working on myself, and these are the things that I have to do in which to, for the betterment of myself.
So does it almost feel like a relapse? We
Oh,
feel
yeah,
when we
for sure.
relapse?
Yeah, 100%, yes.
Yeah, and so that's really what it is. And so when we decide spiritually that we're going to move forward, because remember, at this point, it's not about the food, and it's not about the Percocet, it's not about pot, it's not about starving yourself, right? It's about how we are spiritually. And so if I'm working on myself spiritually, and I'm trying to achieve, I'm going toward the certain spiritual goal, right? Where I can be more happy, joyous, and free, where I can tell the truth more, right? And be a little bit more settled in my life and myself, and not have so much chaos going on around me. That's the part of the recovery that we're going to work on, right? Because we're getting clean. So now we're going to talk about recovery. So when I talk about a relapse, we're going to talk about a spiritual recovery, because spiritual recovery will always come before we pick up. Our lack of spiritual recovery always comes before we pick up, losing that spiritual recovery. And so when we pick up, at that moment, that happened, they say we relapse long before we pick up. And so spiritually, if I'm upset with myself, or I feel bad about myself for something that I'm doing, then there's one of those spiritual principles that I don't feel like I'm using, whether it's honesty, that I'm not being honest with myself, I'm not having integrity with my own self, I'm not having courage, I'm not having perseverance, I'm not, so I don't have hope, I'm losing hope because I'm doing something else. So I always like to look at what it is that I'm going through, what it means to me, and what I'm losing by doing something else. What was I gaining before? And then how much am I stepping back? And then what is it that I'm willing to do to get back to where I was? So if I'm doing something because Angeli tells me to, might not feel right. But if Angeli suggests something to me and I'm acting a certain way because I believe that that's what's best for me spiritually, and then I stop doing it, right? Because it's going to be a suggestion from somebody else in the beginning of recovery. And then I stop doing it. For me, I know my go-to emotion is shame. You know, when I screw up is shame. And shame brings out every negative emotion on the planet for me. So can you get a handle on when you say I feel bad, what is it that you're feeling?
Well, I guess it's two things because I can't pinpoint a moment where like there was a spiritual disconnect for me because I had been doing the things that I was supposed to do up until it happened. So like I can't think of what was the. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna add. Well, if you're done, I want to add something.
Okay.
'Cause her and I had this conversation before, and the part you're not saying that I think you're implying is that you're worried about figuring out, is this a relapse or is this not?
Right.
Because, so the conversation we had is, Allie asked me, I've been working on recovery for 8 months, but I'm not in recovery. I've been working on
Fair
recovery.
enough.
So does that mean I can have a relationship in 12 months if I've been working on? So I said to her, well, here's the thing, right? You work on your recovery and you relapse technically by using, but you had a spiritual relapse long before that actual picking up happened, which means you weren't really in recovery. You're working towards your recovery. And I said I could be wrong. I was going to have...
Yeah, so here's the thing, is that, and what you're saying is completely understood. We're all going to decide what our recovery looks like. We're all going to decide what our clean days are. We could be telling the truth or we could be lying. If I'm lying about whatever's going on, I'm lying to me, and so I'm going to lie to you. Right? So that's the first thing. It depends on how you feel when we talk about relapse. You guys, we're allowed to make mistakes. Right? I'm not allowed to stick a needle in my arm, but I am allowed to make mistakes. So I am allowed to make some mistakes spiritually and say, okay, this is what happened, and I realize what's happening, and so I'm going to stop the behavior. If I'm questioning my behavior, if I'm questioning putting the needle in the arm, and I put the needle in my arm, I've relapsed. If you're clear about what's going on, and you think it's not good for you spiritually, and you do it anyway, do you consider that a spiritual relapse? And that's going to be up to you and what you believe. Because my truth, for me, and I've said this before, you guys, my recovery has to be super black and white for me. I can't have any gray areas because I use. So
translating that to the food. So me slipping and my face falling in the mashed potatoes is still, I'm doing this to make a point. Okay, and the point is, when with the food, there reaches that stage that I know, because I have that dieting mentality, and I had to realize something really soon, is that me staying off certain trigger foods is essential for me being in recovery, and that's non-negotiable. So when I choose to stay off certain things, that's the same as me not picking up that needle and sticking it in my arm, is by making that choice to stay off those trigger foods, whatever they look like, and everyone's totally different.
are we talking about food, or are we talking about an emotional
Yeah.
relapse?
No,
right
no,
now?
we're talking, you brought up the needle, so I just wanted to relate that to, because we also deal with the food side of it.
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
you know, I say the needle because it sounds so much
Right.
more dramatic than mashed potato, but what I'm saying is that it's a decision that I'm making. Yes.
Also, we're talking about cross addiction here, so, and that's a personal thing, I guess you would say too, but,
No, I wouldn't.
okay. Sorry, I assumed
No, I
that.
wouldn't. Yeah, no. Thanks for bringing that up, but
So,
no, I wouldn't.
yeah, like for example, if my addiction is sex,
Mm-hmm.
and I also have a food addiction, and I'm clean with the food, but I'm not with the sex, then
You're not
in my
clean.
opinion, I'm not clean.
Correct.
Right. That's
Right.
just
If
a
I
black
if
and
I
white.
start gambling tomorrow, I relapse.
Or if you start doing well, you're a drug
Right,
addict.
I'm drug
but-
addict.
Sorry, I mean it like
Everybody
that.
expects me to do drugs. I'm a drug addict.
But you can say that that's you. If somebody else can say, yeah, I was addicted to alcohol, I'm gambling now, but I still consider myself in recovery. Like some people have that gray area.
So let me ask you a question.
I gotta
you
jump
go
in on
first.
this.
You go first.
So
and
what
I'll get
drives
right
me,
back.
okay, so what drives me crazy is when I'm in the rooms and I'm sitting in NA or I'm sitting in AA and I've got these guys are standing outside and they're smoking cigarettes, okay, and they then walk in and they talk about their clean dates, or they're sitting in the rooms and they're 150 pounds overweight because they got into the candy and they've got a sugar addiction. For me, that starts driving me crazy because anything that changes the way that I feel, or anything that I pick up that changes the way that I feel, or anything that I start obsessing about, to me is my addiction. So if I'm picking up cigarettes, or I'm picking up pot, or I'm picking up candy, or I'm picking up food, for me that is an addictive behavior, and I'm back in my addiction.
And that's you.
That's me,
And
yeah.
we can talk about next time why you judge those people, because that's a whole
That's a whole
other
separate
meeting.
Right, I know.
Right.
That's me talking to me. That's a whole separate thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
But here's the thing. So let me ask you a question. So if I had a conversation with you guys and I told you guys that I just started saving a little bit of money because, I just spent like $800 million on going back to treatment and all that stuff a couple of years ago, da-da-da. But, and it's really no big deal. But the other night I dropped 10 grand, and it's okay because I put it on my credit card because I was playing poker online. Is that a problem?
Yeah.
Yes.
What? Yes, it is. And why is it a problem? What is the first step? Say, you guys, somebody tell me what the first step of AA or NA is.
Honesty.
That's the spiritual principle. What's the step?
Your life
I
is managed by
admitted
the-
that I was powerless over, and my life has become unmanageable. When I can't pay my rent because I just spent my baby's college fund, that brings unmanageability to my life. When I'm hiding the fact that I'm doing it, I'm a lion, and spiritually, that brings unmanageability and discontent to my life.
So
Yes.
you are clean, but you're living dirty.
Well, yeah, I'm using.
No,
Yes,
100%. So,
yes.
So,
So
what
just
that means
because
is
I'm
you're
not
not
eating-
picking up, but
Right.
you're not living by the spiritual principles.
Let me tell you
essentially. You're not
something.
putting them-
If I met a guy and I dated him, and our relationship, because some people do have relationships early in sobriety, and some of those relationships work. I have a very good friend and her boyfriend, and they've been together, but they had a regular relationship. They met each other. They went out to lunch or dinner a couple of times. Maybe they went to the beach. They played cards. They introduced each other to each other's kids and families, and they had that kind of a relationship. And it wasn't like there was any behavior that was attached to it that was possibly not just compulsive behavior, but behavior that can hurt you, that can make your life unmanageable. So if I'm going up online and looking for somebody to bang, that's making my life unmanageable because I'm putting myself in danger, right? If I'm having if I can't have a relationship with you without speaking to you on the phone for 6 hours a night, my life has become unmanageable. Right? If I can't get through my workday without thinking about where are you and what are you doing and who are you talking to and why haven't you called me and what's going on, and my life is unmanageable. Right? When we talk about a higher power or what the universe does, we're putting that relationship in front of everything else that's happening in my life. And so that's making my life unmanageable. So it's not just that, if I decided that I'm going to read and I'm going to sit in that corner and read 24/7, and I can't go to work, and I can't answer my phone, and I can't clean my house, and I can't pay my bills because I'm reading, that's a problem, right? Because it's making my life unmanageable. So sometimes what we do is we put nice words around it. Well, I met this guy, and we're having a relationship, and it's so nice, but what kind of relationship are you having? Always check your motives. Is it that relationship, like a friendship, makes you giggle and smile sometimes, or is it the only thing that you could think about during your day? The most important thing you could think about during your day. Are you losing yourself or gaining a friend? So when we say check your motives, am I looking to you to make me feel better about me? Am I hanging out with you because you pay attention and you say I'm pretty and you want to do this and you want to do this and you pay so much attention to me and I feel like such shit about myself that I need that from you because I have no opinion about myself? It depends on what your motives are and what your behaviors are like, and whether your behaviors are behaviors that are good for you or aren't good for you. And those are the questions that you'll ask yourself and figure it out. The stuff that you're bringing up, by the way, listen, what's the easiest thing to do when we can't use our drug of choice? First of all, now, not using my drug of choice, I have all these feelings. I still feel lonely and kind of discontent, and I really don't have good feelings about myself. And so I want something, anything, that's going to make me not feel the way that I'm feeling, right? And so if I'm finding something else to pick up, whether it's gambling, or whether it's porn, or whether it's effing, or whether it's whatever, or using, or I used to do food and now I'm drinking, whatever it is, if I'm using something to alter the way that I'm feeling so I don't have to feel, that makes my life unmanageable in the respect that I'm never going to move forward spiritually. I'm never going to be able to get to my best self because I won't take a look at myself still. Ouch. You know, my heart hurts for you every time I talk to you like this.
I know.
It really does.
You're right.
Yeah, I know it's really, really hard. And the thing is that you share things that are really, really, really hard. So thank you for that. Because I think sometimes you share stuff that other people think or feel or are doing, and they don't. You know? It's hard to say, yeah, I've been clean from, I haven't done Percocet in 2 years, and I'm gambling, but nobody's going to find out. Nobody's going to know. How are they even going to know? If I don't say anything, nobody's going to know. Right? And I certainly don't want to pick up after 2 years again. No, I don't want to pick up another white chip. Right? Scary shit. And you actually talk about it. So kudos to you. And thank you so much. Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to say? No, because you're afraid I'm going to talk more because I don't have to talk anymore.
No.
Sorry.
It's a lot.
I know it is. It's a lot. Yeah, and you know, nothing for nothing, but I know that you have hope because I know that you're honest and that honesty shines through and that you have hope because you still show up and you still say how you feel. And so I know you also have some faith that things are going to get better. And that's walking through recovery. You know, that's learning about yourself in recovery. So good for you. And thank you.
Thank you.
You know, one of the things that are also, sorry.
I was just going to say I'd like to share
Sure.
in response to what we just talked about with Allison. I'm a big, I say that I agree that I shouldn't have a relationship early in recovery for myself, just because I know that I would be using it to help myself feel better, because I am starting to like myself again, and to get the positive feedback from people in general, but guys in particular, it does feel really good. So I understand, you know, how you're feeling. And yesterday, for example, I know I posted about it, but I celebrated 4 months of sobriety yesterday. And one of my friends from my group, a guy friend, you know, took time out of his day to come to that meeting and support me, and it meant a lot. And so immediately my head's like, oh, maybe I could, you know, start a relationship with him. You know, he's a nice guy, he has good morals and values, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Jessica, stop that. Don't do that. Like, just have a friend and be okay with that. And then, if, you know, 12 months down the road, it goes somewhere cool. But I've got to learn to be happy with myself, and I am doing that. But I've got to continue to do that and realize, you know, that's the first step.
You know,
So yeah.
I appreciate you saying that so much. And when I first met you, and I'm going to say this out loud, so if you're mad at me, you'll get over it. But when I first started talking with you, you talked about being needy, right?
Yeah.
That was something like when I first were talking about you. We were talking about being in an active addiction, and we were telling each other our stories, and we had a really big phone conversation, right? And we talked about
Right.
relationships and about feeling needy, or feeling that other people felt that we were needy. And
Right.
we're needy when we can't fill ourselves up with anything. And so that needy, when I say I'm needy, it means that I need you to make me happy. And again, if
Right.
you're in a relationship with somebody because it's a plus, and you like your job, or you know, as best you can, you like your job, you like your life, you like your kids, things are going good, you're going to your meetings, this other person's doing their thing, and you guys meet up once in a while and it's fun, that's different than being
Right.
in a relationship with somebody because you need them for you to feel better about yourself. And so that was a really, really good point. So thank you for saying that. And you're going to find
Sure.
that the more that and I'm proud of you for doing that, by the way, the more I'm proud of you for bringing it up, first of all, and I'm proud of you for stepping back. Second of all, that's walking in recovery. And
Right.
my hope for you is that you understand as time goes by, it allows you to become that word less needy, because you'll be in a relationship with somebody who you want to hang out with instead of somebody who you need to be around so you could feel better about yourself. So,
Exactly.
good
Yep.
job, you. That was really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Leanne's
thank you.
gonna handle it.
Hi, Leanne.
Hi.
Hi. You want to share?
Sure.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm having trouble hearing you guys, so I was trying to jump in and I don't think you can hear me.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
Anyway, I hope I don't lose my train of thought. Well, thank you, Jessica, for sharing that very much, because needy, wow, that's a perfect word. That's how I feel that I am, and it's something that I really, like, I'm 50 years old, and I think I've never really lived on my own. So that's something, I struggle with too. So yeah, that's a powerful one. And I think I kind of missed a lot of what you were saying about the whole, it's dual addiction, but I mean, gosh, I can really identify with that, because yes, I can say that I'm clean and sober from, say alcohol and drugs,
Mm-hmm.
for 4 years this time.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm the all or nothing with the food thing going on. And yes, I've always had, a weight issue. However, now I've seemed to have gone the opposite way and lost too much weight. It seems to be, and now I've kind of obsessed and lost too much weight.
Okay. Are you starving yourself?
Yeah.
Or are you eating better?
Sorry?
Are you starving yourself or eating better?
Yeah, I've been doing that.
Yeah. Yes, you've been starving yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the same as any other addiction, right? So we either eat too much or we don't eat at all. We drug, we do it, whatever. Same. So thank you for bringing that up. So just so you cross addicted. So that cross addiction is just like binging and purging. So, whatever, I eat a lot, then I throw up a lot. I mean, it's the same thing.
Same thing. I just switched addictions. I realize that.
And how do you
But
feel
my
about that?
question is, I guess, like, how do you guys, how you don't pick up the first one, and I understand that, and I have no problem eating, and I do eat well, and I eat healthy, but then, and it's never not picking up that first one. I can understand that, and I have no problem, like, I can eat.
What's the question?
I guess my question is, and I don't want to eat trigger foods, right? Because I can't just have one piece
What's
of
your
chocolate
question,
or
hon?
cake.
What's your question?
But I can't see myself never wanting to eat those foods again for the rest of my life.
Okay, so here's the thing. I can have the attitude. I can't believe that I can't ever do Percocet again. I can't believe that I can't ever I can't ever do 400 milligrams of oxycodone and just enjoy my day. Does that sound ridiculous to you? Does that sound sane to you?
No.
Okay, so you're saying the same thing. You're just not using the word Oxycontin. You're using the word cake. So can I believe that I'm never going to? Yeah, I can believe I'm never going to, because it's going to be a choice that I'm going to make. Actually, am I going to make that choice for forever? No, but I am going to make that choice for right this second. Because you know what? Maybe in an hour I'm going to be dead. So I really don't have to worry about whether I'm going to pick up in an hour. I do know that right now, for this second, I choose to not use. And that's all I have to keep telling myself, is that right for this minute, I choose not to use. Did you say you had a sponsor?
Yes, I do actually.
Are you calling your sponsor every
I've
day?
had I've had different ones over the last few years.
Do you have a
I
sponsor?
struggle because I'm in Canada and she has a home in Florida and she's there now and I'm here, so we're just not connecting right now.
Okay, well, you need to connect with somebody, so get another sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, cross addictions, same. And a lot of us have gone through that. So thank you for sharing that. Get a sponsor and start calling a sponsor every day. Okay?
Allison
Yep.
wants to share.
And
Yes, Allison.
Leanne,
I have a comment. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to comment on Leanne if I can.
Sure, of course.
Real quick. She was saying about, like not worrying about the future, like thinking I can never have it again. I remember when you and I were talking about, oh, my birthday's coming up. I was like complaining, like, oh my God, my birthday, what am I going to do? And you're like, is it like tomorrow? Because
It was like
don't
2
worry
months.
about it.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and in the moment I was like, well, I'm serious. Like, what am I gonna do? But you know, when I got to that point, I realized there's no point in worrying about it. It's stupid for me to worry about it because
Correct.
it's today that I have to worry about.
Right. Or that we have to, challenge ourselves to do our best today. Right? And know that for this moment, I'm good. I'm not using it right now. And for this one, I know there's a good chance that by the time I go home to go to sleep, I'm with my peeps. If I have a challenge, I have somebody to speak to. And I could feel pretty safe that in the next couple hours before I go to sleep, I'm not going to use. And that's all I need to know.
Right.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Maybe the earth is going to blow up. So if I spend the next week and a half worrying about whether or not I'm going to get to have a drink on New Year's and the world ends, I would have spent my last 10 days of my whole entire life worrying about whether I was going to drink
Right.
as opposed to enjoying the friggin' moment that I got right now.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I want you to think about that, Leanne.
Try to understand that and try to live in the moment. Maybe that will help you get through.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you.
Yep.
Allie? Oh,
By you saying that, one of the ways that you taught us to do this is also to do our gratitude list.
mm-hmm.
So we're able to see what's good in the day and be able to post it and share it with others as well, because it also sometimes triggers in other people things that we're grateful for,
Yeah.
and we're not so stuck.
Thank you.
I was going to comment on Leanne's comment
ahead.
about feeling that you can never have a certain food, because I felt that way for a long, long time.
And you talked about it for a long, long time.
I did talk about it for a long, long time. And now it's gotten easier because I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really need that food, and then I could. There are so many other great foods out there that are not like trigger foods and like starches, and there are so many other options. So I think it's like working it through and through time that you get there, but you just got to take the step
Right.
to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You got to do it now.
And
That's all.
also making the time for ourselves. I found that I was in a rut, so grabbing things that were actually unhealthy for me would seem like the best and the quickest option. And actually taking the time to self-nurture myself and look after myself and plan ahead and prepare ahead and all that kind of stuff is all part of the self-care and making ourselves more important in our own worlds. I mean, that ability to look after ourselves and give ourselves value as well.
Yeah, kindly, right? Is
Yeah.
what you're talking about, to look after ourselves
That's the word, is
kindly.
kindness.
Yeah, to be
Yeah.
kind to ourselves. Ash, you got anything you want to add?
Something good happened.
Okay.
So I was talking to my sister earlier, and she was very angry. And I just tried to push the conversation along and in a positive manner, which I guess years ago I wouldn't do. And she called me back 2 hours later and said, "I just want to say thank you. And don't take this the wrong way, but I've seen such a positive change in you." And I don't know, it felt great. She's like, "You used to be more on the negative side and would feed into my anger, and this time it was completely different." I'm like, "You're right."
So it's funny too. So you've changed your behavior, which actually allows other people sometimes just to look at their own behavior
Yes.
and say, ruh-roh, like, wow, if she could be positive and feel better, maybe I could feel positive, be positive and feel better too.
Mhm.
And she actually thanked you for that.
She
So
did.
maybe that was something you were taking care of yourself, and maybe that's something that will help her learn to take care of herself as well. So good, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
How you doing otherwise?
Good.
You good?
Yeah.
You doing okay with trigger foods and
Yeah. Tomorrow
Not
will be
using
6
and-
weeks.
Yay.
Awesome.
Yay.
Yes.
Very good. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Very good. And you want to put your 2 cents in?
Sure. About which topic?
Anything you want.
I really don't know what to say. Everything's good, and yeah. I mean, I honestly don't. I don't have anything to say today. Everything's good. You know, I just 2 days ago I had 300 days clean, so I'm happy about that.
Awesome.
It's like such a big
Yeah,
number,
I
right?
know.
300
Yeah.
days. Like, oh my God.
So doing what I need to do, and I'm studying now, and I'm struggling a little with that. I'm having anxiety over that, and so that's different because I haven't studied since I worked on my recovery, and that I know that sounds kind of, well, it doesn't matter how it sounds. Point is that I haven't had to balance another challenge with the challenge of my recovery. And so it's interesting to do that and see that like the same principles I use in my recovery are the same things we use in all issues and aspects of our life. Recovery is for the rest of our life. So I kind of knew that, but it's really cool to see it play out that way.
Right. You know how they say in the big book, we practice these principles in all of our affairs.
Yeah.
In all of our affairs, right? We practice those spiritual principles. And that's some of the hard part, because in the beginning we're just not going to use, and so we're paying attention on how great it is that we're just not using, and then after that it's now I'm going to live my life.
Yeah, and I think,
and practice those principles living my life.
yeah, and I think for a really long time I had the luxury of working on my recovery and doing nothing else, just because I was at a point where I finished school. But now I'm starting to pursue my education further, and I'm getting back into my life, and so it's really cool. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
I think Allison wanted to share.
Oh, I just thought about something really quickly.
Speak up, baby.
I just thought about something really quickly. Can we read the promises at the end?
Yes, we
I'm
can.
not, I don't know if we're going to just
Okay.
hold on 1 second. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, because I just want to touch on a couple of things. Because
Sure.
we've got a Valentine's celebration that we have to discuss in a couple of seconds. But also, we are reaching about 1 million people every 10 months. So we're reaching over 100,000 people a month. And this is from people being in service, of sharing our broadcasts. You know, addiction is horrific. It really is. Being able to reach as many addicts as possible is really our goal. And the way that we do it is by people's generosity of stepping into their own recovery and sharing the journey and our stories and everything with as many people as possible. And you can do that through sharing here, subscribing to our YouTube channel as well. We have people in all different time zones. We've got Nevin joining us from Australia, and we've got Mary and Wida and Laura and Bridget and Sarah and Pamela and Christina and Melissa and Stephanie and Sally and Shannon. We cross different time zones. People who are struggling, we have our Facebook page, which is What's Eating You. So anyone who's got certain challenges, the best thing is to actually hop onto the page, share what you're going through. We are global, so there's always someone who's going to jump in and be able to share or be able to say something. This is the kindest, most generous community, and people really step into service and give of themselves, which is really is humbling for me. I find it extraordinary. And we were talking about something yesterday of one of the best ways to really get into recovery is to be able to focus on ourselves and be able to work through the steps and actually spend time, because life gets so busy. And I found that until I actually made it a priority and started doing some kind of work on myself, recovery, it's very easy to start getting into old habits. So we started our first small group workshop, and they are really small. It's up to 25 people. We don't want more people because we really want to get to everyone and everyone be able to share what they're going through. So we're starting our gift to ourselves, and the biggest love of our life is really for Valentine's Day. We're going to celebrate ourselves
And our recovery.
and our recovery and stepping into it. We're starting another beginners workshop, which is starting that Saturday of the week of Valentine's. Everything is posted on Facebook, and it sends you to Eventbrite. It is only for 25 people because really that's all that we can do at this stage. We do intensive work. Karen, Jess, how was it? You guys, how was the workshop when you hopped into it? Did you find it beneficial?
Yeah.
It was great.
A little
Very
scary
much
at
so.
times,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Or a lot scary at times.
Yeah.
right?
And didn't you find it very different actually doing a workshop compared to actually just doing the meetings?
Oh, very,
Exactly, yeah.
very much so, yeah.
What was,
Actually begin to feel like a part of the group.
Yes.
and we also got to know you better. And I'm sure,
Mhm.
and what was your biggest take from the workshop as well? Like your biggest take home from the workshop?
Well, it was
Just a lot of self-reflection for me. Just like looking inward and realizing where all these, like where my addiction comes from, and things like that, and how to move forward.
Sorry, you're going to say something?
Oh, I was basically going to say that, but it was working through steps and a process, and kind of fleshing out details about yourself and getting the advice from others and different perspectives, and like coming together as a group.
Thank you, Ange.
I think the most important thing I got out of it, and I think a lot of people will agree, is that it's very small. It's a very small group, so it's very intensive, and it's one-on-one. You get the benefit of hearing what other people say, but also working on your core issues in a very short amount of time, a 10-week period. You come in and you go out like a different person.
Yeah, and it's also cutting through our own BS.
Yeah.
And not getting away with stuff that we say on the outside, because there are people in that room that have already gotten to know you on the inside.
And they keep
And
you
that-
accountable.
Accountable, right? And that when you're lying to you or to us, we know it, right? And when you're not telling your whole truth, we know it. And when you're scared, we know it. When you're going through something, we all know it. So it really brought us, that little community, together really super tightly, and everybody else in that room's got your back, man. Like they got your back 24/7, right? Like
Yeah.
we were
Even
there for
now,
each
a lot
other,
of us
and
still communicate.
yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course, right? We're still
Yeah, I
pretty tight knit
absolutely
little group.
loved
So
it. Like I feel close to all you guys. I've never met a single one of you in person, but
Right. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, not
That's
yet.
so weird, right?
So
what did you
just,
say?
yeah, so I said not yet, because the way that we do it is people either join us online or they here in person. So it feels exactly the same, that
Yeah.
you're in the room, just you could be in a totally different state or a different country. I mean, we have people joining us from all different places, which is so amazing.
Yeah, I don't feel like they're not in the room.
No, I don't feel like,
Like
you're
I
not in the
never
room
even thought
either.
about that when you just said that. I never met you. I never even thought about that. I mean, because I see you friggin' more than I see my kids. It's like, I see you guys all the time. I talk to you guys all the time. So
So one of the questions that comes up, because people, Felice wrote the workbook. So it's our own While Wait for Recovery workbook. She did. She put a lot of time and a lot of effort, and she got a lot of help, and also helped. And I mean, it was just really a great community effort, but it's all this brilliance. People ask if they can just buy the workbook. The workbook doesn't work as a piece of paper. It really works in the format of being in the rooms, working through it, getting the feedback, getting the coaching, getting the assistance, getting to share your secrets, because really that is the part that keeps us ill.
and it's about telling the truth. It's really easy for me not to tell my whole truth when I'm reading a book. It's not so easy for me not to tell my whole truth in front of you guys once you guys know me, right? And me knowing that I'm going to be called out at any moment for whatever it is I'm going through. And that was a scary part, and that's the part that keeps us healthy.
And learning to tell the truth. For me, I didn't know I lied so much. I lied consistently. It took me a while to be able, I told beautiful stories. When I walked in, I managed, when we did the workbook the first time, I came up with the most amazing stories because I was showing up looking good, but I wasn't telling my truth. And
Yeah,
it
you
took
did
a
that with
while.
your stepwork too.
I did that with the stepbook, exactly.
She lied then too.
So I lied all the way through it, and then I relapsed, okay?
Yay!
So I did, and I thought that I was being fabulous, and then I thought that I'd get the gold star, and I graduated, and I did really well, but it doesn't work that way. So
Right.
really, honestly, something I had to learn.
Darn it, doesn't work.
I had
that
to
way.
learn by getting my butt kicked.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of things as well that we really do as a community. So the work shop. Sorry,
It's like
the work-
shopping, but not
Yeah,
working,
exactly.
but
So-
workshop.
So everybody needs it, but it's only for the people who really want it, is really the bottom line. And I just wanted to quickly, before we shoot over to coming back into the rooms, one of the ways that we keep connected, and one of the things we get to do as homework, is we do our gratitude list every single day. in
Every
what
day.
we-
My sponsees don't have a choice. So,
And it is,
or my sponsees.
we do 3 things we're grateful for, because not every day is a fabulous day, but there are at least 3 things we can find we're grateful for.
1,000, but yeah.
At least 3, okay? And the more you get into this, I'm giving everyone the 90-day challenge. Do those gratitudes for 90 consecutive days, including weekends and evenings.
And
okay?
Thursday.
And Thursday. And also write your strength for the day, no matter what it was, but also include that. Share it with us, either via the website, via Facebook, WhatsApp. Doesn't
Why wait
matter.
for recovery?
Why wait for recovery? It doesn't matter. Just text us, get it to us, and you'll start seeing how it really starts shifting your life.
Well, do you want to check in real quick before we're done?
Well,
Okay. Well, thank you for being here with us tonight then. And just for sometimes it
I
doesn't
have a
matter.
quick question.
Sure. Quick.
Would anyone be willing to forward their phone numbers, like just to text? Like I have free texting to the States. Would anybody, like, do you guys have that plan?
Yeah,
Would
you know
be able
what,
to
you know
text
what,
to anyone?
just I am.
Ask on what's eating you.
Yeah, go on What's Eating You and ask on What's Eating You, and people can IM you.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
So one of the things that we requested was we're kind of trying to get organized. This is very organic and very grassroots, what we do with While Wait for Recovery, and things just grow. We've asked everyone who's willing to do a review. We now have access to Google. We posted on Facebook. If you could review us, and thank you, Jessica and Karen, and the people who have. We really appreciate it.
I'm good
But-
to review us.
Right, so please review us, because what happens is people like seeing what has happened, and we just want to reach as many people as possible. That is our goal.
It's our goal.
It is. And we meet up again on Sunday. Just, I can hear Leanne. So we meet up on Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, from 9 to 10 every single Sunday, every Wednesday 9 to 10 p.m. Bring a friend. It's the coolest kids hang out in recovery.
They do. And we have a second, so I'm going to read this for Alice.
Yes,
4
I'm-
minutes.
Okay. Oh, we have 4 minutes. I'm going to read
Yeah.
really slowly for Allison. These are the promises. And Allison, these promises, you know, they say they work if you work it, but really these promises do come true. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that the universe does for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We don't think so. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but they will always materialize if we work for them. And you know, when we said, and one of the most important, like every time I read the promises, something else is more important to me. And tonight, with what we're talking about, you know, we won't regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. We're going to learn, we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to learn, we're going to grow, and it's going to allow us to be of service to somebody else. Right? It happened, it happened. I could let go of the emotion that's attached to whatever happened in the past because it's done. But I have to remember what happened. Otherwise, if I forget what happened, and if I forget what it looks like after that happened, then I'm more apt to pick up a handful of pills and a bottle of booze and OD or try to kill myself again, right? And so I don't want to forget what happened or why I was there, but I don't have to beat myself up for it anymore.
And that's also why the newcomer is the most important person, because it takes us back to that starting point of where we came in our recovery, and it makes us remember, and it makes us see how far we've actually come from that point. And for me as an addict, it helps me stay in recovery because I cherish where I am today compared to how miserable I was at that stage when walking into the room.
Yeah, and it also allows you to be of service, right?
Right, and
We get to
service
put
is
our
key.
hand out to somebody else.
So be of service, share our broadcast, like us, share us with your friends, invite them to join us because it's a really cool place to hang out.
We're cool, man. It's like cool to be here, right?
So see you Sunday.
Great. I am blessed and grateful to be in recovery. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of my recovery, for being here on our Wacky Wednesday Why Wait for Recovery community meeting. My name is Felice. I'm grateful and blessed.
And my name is Haiti, and I'm grateful and blessed for all of you and to be in recovery. See you on Sunday. Have
Peace
a
out, you
fabulous
guys.
week.
Peace out, everybody. Mwah. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.